Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. In this module, we shall learn about hotspots of biodiversity. The learning objectives of this module are to understand the concept of hotspots of biodiversity, biodiversity hotspots at global level, biodiversity hotspots in India, and protecting and maintaining biodiversity hotspots. Let first we try to understand what is the meaning of hotspots of biodiversity. First of all, what is biodiversity? The variety of life on earth, its biological diversity is commonly referred as biodiversity. Now, biodiversity hotspots. Biodiversity hotspots are areas that support natural ecosystems that are largely intact and where native species and communities associated with these ecosystems are well represented. They are also areas with a high diversity of local endemic species, which are species that are not found or are rarely found outside the hotspot. The concept of biodiversity hotspots was given by Norman Mayers in two articles, and these articles were published in the journal The Environmentalist in 1988 and 1990. In 1998, he first identified 10 tropical forest hotspots characterized both by exceptional level of plant endemism and serious levels of habitat loss. In another article in 1990, Mayers added a further 8 hotspots including 4 Mediterranean type ecosystems. Then Conservation International adopted Mayer's hotspots as its institutional blueprint in 1989, and in 1996 the organization made the decision to undertake a reassessment of the hotspots concept. 3 years later, an extensive global review was undertaken which introduced quantitative thresholds for the designation of biodiversity hotspots. According to Conservation International, to qualify as a hotspot, a region must meet 2 strict criteria. First is, it must contain at least 1,500 species of vascular plants, that is more than 0.5% of the world's total as endemic. It has to have lost at least 70% of its original habitat, or it must have 30% or less of its original natural vegetation. So, these were the 2 criteria for hotspots. In 1999, Conservation International identified 25 biodiversity hotspots in the book Hotspots, Earth's Biologically Richest and Most Endangered Terrestrial Ecoregions. So, this is the name of a book, and in that book 25 biodiversity hotspots were identified. Collectively, these areas held as endemic about 44% of the world's plants and 35% of terrestrial vertebrates in an area that formerly covered by 11.8% of the planet's land surface. The habitat extent of this land area had been reduced by 87.8% of its original extent, such that this wealth of biodiversity was restricted to only 1.4% of Earth's land surface. In 2005, Conservation International published an updated title, Hotspots Revisited, another book, Earth's Biologically Richest and Most Endangered Terrestrial Ecoregions. Now, let me have a look on the global biodiversity hotspots. Currently, there are 35 biodiversity hotspots. Overall, these hotspots once covered 15.7% of the Earth's land surface. In all, 86% of the hotspots habitat has already been destroyed, such that the intact remnants of these hotspots now cover only 2.3% of the Earth's land surface. The biodiversity hotspots hold especially high numbers of endemic species. Each hotspot faces extreme threats and has already lost at least 71 of its original natural vegetation. You know, this is one of the criteria to be a hotspot of biodiversity. Over 50% of the world's plant species and 42% of all terrestrial vertebrate species are endemic to the 35 biodiversity hotspots. Let me have a look on different regions. First of all, let me take Africa. A total of 8 hotspots in African continent hold a diversity of plant and animal life, many of which are found nowhere else on the earth. And these are Cape Floristic region, coastal forests of Eastern Africa, Eastern Afro-Montane, Guinean forests of West Africa, Horn of Africa, Madagascar and the Indian Ocean island, then manipulated Pondoland Albany and succulent Karo. These are the different hotspot regions of Africa. Let me have a look on the different hotspot biodiversity regions of Asia Pacific regions. These are composed of large land areas as well as islands dotting the Pacific seas. These 14 hotspots represent important biodiversity, and these Asia Pacific hotspots include East Melanesian Island, Himalaya, Indo-Burma, Japan, mountains of southwest China, New Caledonia, New Zealand, Philippines, Polynesia, Micronesia, southward Australia, forests of eastern Australia, Sunderland, Wallacea, Western Ghats and Sri Lanka. The third region is Europe and Central Asia. From the Mediterranean basin to the mountains of Central Asia, these 4 hotspots are unique in their biodiversity, and these hotspots are Caucasus, Irano-Anatolian, Mediterranean basin region, mountains of Central Asia. Then North and Central America region. North and Central America play host to thousands of acres of important habitat. California Floristic Province, Caribbean Islands, Mediterranean Pinoak woodlands and Mesoamerica. Fifth region is South America. From Brazil's Cerrado to the tropical Andes, South America has some of the richest and most diverse life on earth. And the hotspot regions of this area are Atlantic forest Cerrado, Chilean winter rainfall, then Tumbes, then tropical Andes. There is another term that is used several times, that is hottest hotspots. So what are these hottest hotspots? Some hotspots are much richer than others in terms of their numbers of endemics. The analysis so far has considered 5 key factors for hottest hotspots, and these factors include numbers of endemic species or area ratio for both plants and vertebrates and habitat loss. These factors don't carry equal weight, so they cannot be combined into a single quantitative ranking. For comparative purposes, in qualitative fashion, here is a list of 8 hottest hotspots which appear at least 3 times in the top 10 listing for each factor. Hottest hotspots include Madagascar, Philippines, Sunderland, Brazil's Atlantic forest, Caribbean islands, Indo-Burman region, Western Ghat and Sri Lanka, Eastern Arc and coastal forests of Tanzania and Kenya. This map shows 34 biodiversity hotspots. These are areas which are suffering biodiversity loss and where attention is needed. Originally, Norman Mayer gave the 25 biodiversity hotspots, and these are green coded 1 to 25, and later 9 hotspots blue shown with blue color, that is 26 to 34 added by Mayer. So dear students, please try to find out the hotspots of biodiversity in India from this map. This table shows the mega diverse countries. The concept of mega diversity is based on the total number of species in a country and the degree of endemism at the species level and at higher taxonomic levels. The World Conservation Monitoring Center recognized 17 mega diverse countries in June 2000, and these 17 mega diverse countries include Australia, the Congo, Madagascar, South Africa, China, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Papua New Guinea, Philippines, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, Peru, United States and Venezuela. So, these 17 countries are called as mega diverse countries with respect to biodiversity. This group of countries has less than 10% of the global surface, but support more than 70% of the biological diversity on the earth. The concept was first developed by Russell Mittermeier in 1988 as a way to prioritize conservation action. Based on analysis of primate conservation priorities, he found that 4 countries accounted for 2/3 of all primate species. The analysis was then expanded to include other mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, plants and selected groups of insects. These countries representing majority of tropical rainforests, coral reefs and other priority systems. The results of the assessment were published in the book that is named as Mega Diversity, Earth's Biological Wealthiest Nations. Let me have a look on the global biodiversity hotspots in different regions. In Asia Pacific region, East Malaysian island, once largely intact, the 1600 East Melanesian islands are now a hotspot due to accelerating level of habitat loss. Then Himalayas. The Himalaya hotspot is home to the world's highest mountains, including Mount Everest. The Indo-Burma. Indo-Burma, encompassing more than 2 million square kilometers of tropical Asia, Indo-Burma is still revealing its biological treasures. Japan. The islands that make up the Japanese archipelago stretch from the humid subtropics in the south to the boreal zone in the north, resulting in a wide variety of climate and ecosystem. Mountains of southwest China. With dramatic variations in climate and topography, the mountains of southwest China sport a wide array of habitats, including the most endemic rich temperate flora in the world. Then New Caledonia. New Caledonia is an island in the size of New Jersey in the South Pacific Ocean. New Caledonia is the home of not less than 5 endemic plant families. Then New Zealand. New Zealand, a mountainous archipelago once dominated by temperate rainforests, New Zealand harbors extraordinary levels of endemic species. Philippines. More than 7,100 islands fall within the borders of the Philippines hotspot, identified as one of the world's biologically richest countries. Then Polynesia, Micronesia, comprising 4,500 islands stretched across the southern Pacific Ocean. The Polynesia, Micronesia hotspot is the epicenter of the current global extinction crisis. Then Southwest Australia, the forests, woodlands, shrublands and heath of Southwest Australia are characterized by high endemism among plants and reptiles. Then forests of Eastern Australia. Forests of East Australia hotspot consist of a discontinuous coastal stretch along the Australian states of Queensland and New South Wales, extending inland and further west, although it includes the New England tablelands and the Great Dividing Range. This region contains more than 1,500 endemic vascular plants. Then Sunderland. The spectacular flora and fauna of the Sunderland hotspot are succumbing to the explosive growth of industrial forestry in these islands. Then Valencia. The flora and fauna of Valencia are so varied that every island in this hotspot needs secure protected area to preserve the region's biodiversity. Then Western Ghats and Sri Lanka. Faced with tremendous population pressure, the forests of Western Ghats and Sri Lanka have been dramatically impacted by the demands for timber and agricultural land. How we can have protection and maintenance of biodiversity hotspots? Hotspots are not formally recognized or governed areas. However, the identification of an area as a biodiversity hotspot increases the likelihood of conservation investment. In addition, other designations for biodiversity conservation are likely to be present within these broad areas, which may have more formal management structures. Let me take example. The average protected area coverage of hotspot based on IUCN protected area management categories 1 to 6 is 12% of their original extent. Hotspot conservation initiatives. Only a small percentage of the total land area within biodiversity hotspots is now protected. Several international organizations are working in many ways to conserve biodiversity hotspot. To name some of the international organizations are the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund. This is an alliance among 7 non-governmental and private sector organizations. This also includes Conservation International. This is a global program that provides grants to organizations around the world that are working to help to protect biodiversity hotspots. Biodiversity hotspots are also used by major foundations and the Global Environmental Facility, that is GEF, to target investment in global conservation. Then the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, has derived a system called the Global 200 ecoregions, the aim of which is to select priority ecoregions for conservation within each of 19 terrestrial, 3 freshwater and 4 marine habitat types. They are chosen for their species richness, endemism, taxonomic uniqueness, unusual ecological or evolutionary phenomena and global rarity. All biodiversity hotspots contain at least one global 200 ecoregion. BirdLife International has identified 218 endemic bird areas, each of which hold 2 or more bird species found nowhere else. BirdLife International has identified more than 11,000 important bird areas all over the world. Plant Life International coordinates several the world aiming to identifying important plant areas. Alliance for Zero Extinction is an initiative of a large number of scientific organizations and conservation groups who cooperate to focus on the most threatened endemic species of the world. They have identified 595 sites, including a large number of bird life's important bird areas. The National Geographic Society has prepared a world map of the hotspots and arc view shapes and metadata for the biodiversity hotspots, including details of the individual endangered fauna in each hotspot, which is available from Conservation International. Now, let me have a look on the biodiversity hotspots of India. Just 17 of the world's 200 or so countries contain 70% of its biodiversity, earning them the title mega diverse. India is one of these mega diverse countries with only 2.4% of world's land area and 4% of fresh water, yet accounts for 7.3% of recorded species, making it third most mega diverse country after Brazil and Costa Rica, with highest concentration of species in Augustamalai Hills in Western Ghats. This table shows the different groups of animals and plants and their number and with the percentage of world species found in India. This table shows the major hotspots of endemic and genetic diversity of India, and these are Karakoram and Ladakh, Kumayu and Gadwal Himalayas, Shivaliks, Sikkim Himalayas, Arunachal Pradesh, Lushai Hills, Turakhasi Hills, Aravallis, Bundelkhand, Chota Nagpur Plateau, Panchamadi Satpura Ranges, Simplipal and Jepore Hills of Orissa, then Bastar and Koraput Hills, Vishakhapatnam Hills and Araku Valley, Tirupati Kudappa Hills, Marathwada Hills, Saurashtra Kuch region, Mahabaleshwar Khandala Range, Agumbi Fonda Ranges, Ratnagiri and Kolaba Ranges, Nilgiris, Silent Valley, Annamalai region, Idukki Sabrigiri region, Kalakad and Augustamalai Hills, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. These areas are from different biogeographic regions. Dear student, please try to find out that which hotspot is in which biogeographic zone. Four major biodiversity hotspots present in India are Himalayas. This includes the entire Indian Himalayan region and that falling in Pakistan, Tibet, Nepal, Bhutan, China and Myanmar. The second region is Indo-Burma. This includes entire northern eastern India except Assam and Andaman group of islands. Then Sunderlands. Sunderlands include Nicobar group of islands. Then Western Ghats and Sri Lanka. So these are the four major hotspots of biodiversity in India. Dear students, this table shows different species, endemic species with the degree of endemism of plants, mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibian and freshwater fishes found in Himalayan region. You will find that about 40% amphibians are endemic to Himalayas and about 31.6% plants are endemic to Himalayas. The region encompassing Bhutan, northeastern India and southern, central and eastern Nepal. The abrupt rise of the Himalayan mountains from less than 500 meters to more than 8,000 meters results in a diversity of ecosystems that range from alluvial grasslands and subtropical broadleaf forests along the foothills to temperate broadleaf forests in the mid-hills, mixed conifers and conifer forests in the higher hills, and alpine meadows above the tree line. If we have a look on the biodiversity of this region, the Himalayan hotspot has nearly 163 globally threatened species of both flora and fauna, including the one-horned rhinoceros that is vulnerable and the wild Asian water buffalo that is endangered. There are an estimated 10,000 species of plants in the Himalayas, of which one-third are endemic and found nowhere else in the world. The area has long been recognized as a rich center of primitive flowering plants and popularly known as the cradle of speciation. Species of several families of monocotyledons, orchidaceae, gingibraceae and arachiaceae are found in the area. Gymnosperms and pteridophytes, that is ferns, are also well represented here in the Himalayas. The area is also rich in wild relatives of plants of economic significance. The examples are rice, banana, citrus, ginger, chili, jute and sugarcane. It is also regarded as the center of origin and diversification of 5 palms of commercial importance, including coconut, areca nut, palmyra palm, sugar palm and wild date palm. Tea has been cultivated in this region for the last 4,000 years. Many wild and allied species of tea, the leaves of which are used as a substitute for tea, are found in the northeast in the natural habitats. The taxol plant is sparsely distributed in the region and is listed under the red data category due to its overexploitation for extraction of a drug effectively used against cancer. A few threatened endemic bird species such as the Himalayan quail, cheer peasant, western tragopan are found here, along with some of the Asia's largest and most endangered birds such as Himalayan vultures and white-bellied heron. Mammals like the golden lemur, the Himalayan tahar, the pygmy hog, langurs, Asiatic wild dogs, sloth bear, gores, sambar, snow leopard, black bear, blue sheep, takin, the Gangetic dolphin, wild water buffalo, swamp deer call the Himalayan range their home. This slide shows the species diversity and endemism in the Indo-Burma region. You will find that about 51.9% plants are endemic in this region and 53.8% amphibians are endemic, 43.8% freshwater fishes are endemic and 39.1% reptiles are endemic in this region. The Indo-Burma region encompasses several countries. It is spread out from eastern Bangladesh to Malaysia and includes northeastern India, south of Brahmaputra river, Myanmar, the southern part of China's Yunnan province, Lao People's Democratic Republic, Cambodia, Vietnam and Thailand. The Indo-Burma region is spread over 2 million square kilometers of tropical Asia. Since this hotspot is spread over such a large area and across several major landforms, there is a wide diversity of climate and habitat pattern in this region. Let me have a look on the biodiversity of this Indo-Burma region. Much of this region has been deteriorating rapidly in the past few decades. This region is home to several primate species such as monkeys, langurs and gibbons with populations numbering only the hundreds. Many of the species, especially some freshwater turtle species, are endemic. Almost 1,300 bird species exist in this region, including the threatened white-eared night heron that is endangered, the grey-crowned croziers that is also endangered and the orange-necked partridge that is near threatened. It is estimated that there are 13,500 plant species in this hotspot with over half of them endemic. A wide array of orchid and ginger species. There are more than 1,000 orchid species in Thailand alone and many tropical hardwood trees including commercially valuable dipterocarp species and tea. The third biodiversity hotspot in India is Western Ghats and Sri Lanka. Over there you will find that there is very rich species diversity and endemism and the same is given in this table, and you will find over there about 65% reptiles are endemic, about 73% amphibians are endemic, 72.8% freshwater fishes are endemic and 51.5% plants are endemic. Western Ghats, also known as Sahyadri Hills, encompasses the mountain forests in the southwestern part of India and highlands of southwestern Sri Lanka. These regions have moist deciduous forest and rainforest. The region shows high species diversity as well as high level of endemism. Sri Lanka, which lies to the south of India, is also a country rich in species diversity. It has been connected with India through several past glaciation events by a land bridge almost 140 km wide. The entire extent of Hotspot was originally about 1,82,500 square kilometer, but due to tremendous population pressure, now only 12,445 square kilometer or 6.8% of the original is in pristine condition. Let me have a look on the biodiversity of this region. The wide variations of rainfall pattern in the Western Ghats, coupled with the region's complex geography, produces a great variety of vegetation types. Some prominent genera and families are represented by a large number of endemic species such as Impatiens with 76 of 86 species endemic, Dipterocarpus with 12 of 13 species endemic, and Calamus with 23 of 25 species endemic. Of the 490 tree species recorded from low and mid elevation forests, 308 species are endemic. The only gymnosperm tree, Podocarpus, is also endemic. Of the 267 species of orchids, 130 are endemic. There are over 6,000 vascular plants belonging to over 2,500 genera in this hotspot, of which over 300 are endemic. Much of the world's species such as black pepper and cardamom have their origins in the Western Ghats. Nearly 235 species of endemic flowering plants are considered endangered. Similarly, plant diversity and endemism in Sri Lanka are quite high, with 3,210 flowering plant species in 1,052 genera, of which 916 species and 18 genera are endemic. Amazingly, all but one of the islands, more than 55 Dipterocarp species, found nowhere else in the world. In addition, the island's fern are estimated to number around 350 species, although yet not assessed. Approximately 433 plant species and at least 5 genera are confined to Sri Lanka and the Western Ghats combined. Rare fauna of the region include Asian elephant, Nilgiri tahar, Nilgiri langur, flying squirrel, Indian tigers, lion-tailed macaque. These all are endangered. Then Indian giant squirrel, that is least concerned. The highest concentration of species in the Western Ghats is believed to be Agasthyamli hills in the extreme south. The region also harbors over 450 bird species, about 140 mammalian species, 260 reptiles and 175 amphibians. Over 60% of the reptiles and amphibians are completely endemic to the hotspot. Remarkable as this diversity is, it is severely threatened today. The vegetation in this hotspot originally extended over 1,90,000 square kilometers. Today, it has been reduced to just 43,000 square kilometers. In Sri Lanka, only 1.5% of the original forest cover still remains. Rest has been destroyed. The fourth biodiversity hotspot region in India is Sunderland. The map of the same is given here in this slide. Similarly, we have given the maps of other regions also. So, as far as species diversity and endemism is concerned in this region, that is also very high, and the same is shown here in this slide, and this shows that more than 15,000 plant species are endemic to this region, and about 350 freshwater fishes are endemic to this region. 80.3% amphibian species are endemic and 45.3% mammalian species are endemic to this region. Sunderland is one of the biologically richest hotspots on earth. The United Nations declared the islands a World Biosphere Reserve in 2013. It is a region in Southeast Asia that covers the western part of Indo-Himalayan archipelago, It includes Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei and Indonesia. India is represented by Nicobar Islands. The islands have a rich terrestrial and marine ecosystem that includes mangroves, coral reefs and seagrass beds. It has about 25,000 species of vascular plants. Among them, 15,000, about 60% of which are found nowhere else. One plant family, the Scaphostagiaceae, is confined to the hotspot and represented by a single tree species. That species is from Borneo. Notable plants in the hotspot include members of the genus Rafflesia, represented by 16 species with very large flowers. One of these, that is Rafflesia arnoldi, has the largest flower in the world, measuring up to 1 meter in diameter. The marine biodiversity includes several species such as whales, dolphins, dugong, turtles, crocodiles, fishes, prawns, lobsters, corals and sea shells. The primary threat to this biodiversity comes from overexploitation of marine resources. In addition to this, the forests on the islands also need to be protected. There is another term called as hotspots. Let me have a look. Hotspots. A hotspot is an area of ocean that merits special protection because of its wildlife and significant underwater habitats. Andaman and Nicobar, Lakshadweep Islands have been named as the new hotspots by IUCN. Oceanographer Sylvia Early of Mission Blue, an organization involved in the study of oceans. Andaman Nicobar Islands have some of the world's unique species of birds and plants. In the case of Lakshadweep, the coral reefs are quite sensitive to the ocean environment and that needs protection. Importance of biodiversity hotspots. The importance of biodiversity hotspots is due to the high vulnerability of habitats and high irreplaceability of species found within large geographic regions. This means that these areas and the species present within them are both under high level of threat and of significant global value based on their uniqueness. Therefore, operations that occur within global biodiversity hotspots should follow rigorous biodiversity assessments to prevent further biodiversity loss within these areas. This is a global scale approach based on coarse scale ecoregions that therefore has limited use for side scale assessment and decision making. Biodiversity hotspots will include areas of high biodiversity importance as well as degraded land and urban areas, and therefore more detailed assessments are needed to locate the actual distribution of biodiversity within these areas. What is the social cultural value of hotspots? Given the richness of hotspots ecosystem, hotspots are often areas which offer essential ecosystem services. It is estimated that biodiversity hotspots, despite comprising 2.3% of the Earth's surface, account for 35% of the global ecosystem services. Furthermore, hotspots are home to 2.08 billion people, which add significance to the ecosystem services that they provide. Biodiversity hotspots can include a variety of human land uses, rural and urban, as well as protected areas under a range of possible governance types. Therefore, many social and or cultural values are linked to be present in some parts. This, however, is irrespective of the identification of the area as a biodiversity hotspot. Now, what are the reasons for biodiversity loss in hotspots? There are four main reasons why species are being threatened in these biodiversity hotspots. We will be discussing them one by one. First and foremost is habitat destruction. As recently as 30 years ago, most of the regions in these biodiversity hotspots were inaccessible and remote. Now, due to better infrastructure, contact of these areas with humans has increased. Activities such as logging of wood, increased agriculture, increased human habitation has led to destruction of forest and pollution of rivers. These factors are causing species ranges to reduce and habitats to become choppy or destroyed. The government planned to establish habitat corridors, but these plans have not yet materialized in most areas of the world. Activities such as mining, construction of large dams, highway construction have also caused significant destruction of habitat. The another reason is resource mismanagement. Increased tourism without proper regulation has led to pollution and environmental degradation. Prime examples are pilgrimage destinations like Rishikesh and hill stations like Dehradun. These spots, once nestled in the pristine ranges of the Himalayas, are now dirty commercial destinations. Places like Dehradun are even experiencing a construction boom so large that illegal immigrants from Bangladesh are also flocking there. Regional destinations in the Himalayas, where devotees flock in millions now, are also hot destinations for medicinal plant trade, which has threatened plant life in the area. Another reason is poaching. Large mammals such as the tigers, rhinoceros and the elephants once faced the distinct possibility of complete extinction due to rampant hunting and poaching. However, efforts by conservation since the 1970s has helped stabilize and grow these populations. Still, the trade in tiger hide, elephant tusks, tiger teeth, rhinoceros horn remains profitable and rampant. This is a common news in the newspapers. You find that they have got some smugglers smuggling these items. The fourth factor that is responsible for the loss of hotspots is climate change. Although dire IPCC predictions of Himalayan glaciers melting by 2035 have been retracted, there is no doubt that several Himalayan glaciers are melting. In the Western Ghats, studies have shown that the deciduous and the evergreen forests of Karnataka are the most at risk. Climate change may significantly affect the temperatures, rainfall and water tables in the Western Ghats according to an assessment made by Government of India. Dear students, in this module we have learned that what is a hotspot, what is the criteria to divide a hotspot of biodiversity. We have learnt about biodiversity hotspots at global level as well as at Indian level, and we have also learnt about the causes of biodiversity loss in the hotspots and the importance of biodiversity hotspots, and we had a brief discussion on the hotspot conservation initiatives. Thank you.